You're listening to the Simple Growth Podcast, the show that helps business owners get their life back. Here's your host, Mike Callahan.
Welcome back to the SA Weekly Talk Show. Take number 2, technical difficulties. It is mid-COVID, kiddos around the internet and just destroying the bandwidth here at the home office. So appreciate everybody joining us the second time around. I'm just going to check on the other screen here to make sure if you're watching live, you're not staring at a blue screen, and we're going to jump right into this. So looks like we are in good shape here. So want to welcome Jen from the SimpleGrowth team. We're going to be talking all things conversational marketing, the things you need to be doing to winning your new clients' business in 2021. And if you joined us on SA Thrive, Service Autopilot's virtual conference, my talk was based around those things, starting conversations and going out and creating new sales. So Jen is the expert, all thing bots, conversational marketing, omni-channel marketing, and a whole bunch of other things that we're going to be diving into here in the next half hour. But if you're looking for success in 2021, grab a pen and paper, make sure you watch the replay. This is going to be instrumental for your success. And if you did see my talk at SA Thrive, this is going to piggyback on that and actually dive into how to really take the 5 steps that I talked about, how to execute bots in your business this year and really dive into the nitty gritty. So other things is we want to kind of tie it back as somewhat of a recap of SA Thrive as well. If you saw the keynote speaker, Marcus Sheridan of the Sales Lion, and They Ask, You Answer, Marcus talked about how video played a huge role in his business pre-COVID, and now how this shift in river pools and spas and all the other businesses and consulting, video is going to be the instrumental way to go out and make a personal but remote conversation. We can see the body language, we can create some rapport, we can create this virtual relationship, and hopefully go out and create estimates and close sales over video. So we're going to tie how we can use video in. But right off the bat, I know we've got some limited time. Omni-channel marketing. What is it? What are we diving into? It sounds scary. Do you mind breaking it down for us?
Sure. So omni-channel marketing is really marketing to reach people where they're at. You know, we used to have kind of email marketing, or maybe did marketing on the TV or in newspapers, but really what we're realizing is that you need to market to people where they are. And so it's omni-channel, because some people want to be marketed to and will, and engage with you on email. And we do still believe in email. We get good results with that too. Some people are going to go to your website and they want to meet you and have conversations there. Some are going to do it through texting. Some are going to do it through Messenger. Some are going to do it from your social platforms. And so really, when you look at all those together, it's kind of omni-channel. And the main goal of omni-channel marketing is to meet your clients, not dragging them where you want them to be. Join my email list or go to my website. Wherever they are, that's where we want you to be.
Love it. So we've got these different channels where people are having these conversations. I'm assuming best practice is continue the conversation where they enter. And continue that conversation. So you're talking about text messaging, email, Messenger. What are the different entry points? If we're talking about all these different channels we're having communications, if you're using a bot or a messenger bot in this conversational marketing, where are all the places that we're seeing the most success with our clients as a certified advisor, that they're actually entering these different sales funnels?
So there's so many different places. Okay, let's start with the website. So you have a chat on your website. And the nice thing about the chats that are on your website is they're not just only conversation. You can give somebody an estimate. So when they're thinking at 11 o'clock at night, oh, my house, I want to start getting it cleaned, I'm overwhelmed, they can go right into your website and get an estimate. So it's multifunctional right there. So they can come in on your website. They could come in from Facebook page. Let's say you're doing really good and you're doing social postings and video. If they comment on one of those Facebook posts or one of those Facebook videos, we can bring them into your Messenger and into your omni-channel marketing. We can do paid advertising from Facebook and bring them directly into your Messenger. So you think about if you're spending money for ads, you don't want to just kind of you want to capture them for sure. So we're taking people's Facebook ads, we're running them into Messenger. They can come in through texting. So like one of our clients does flyers, and on the flyer it's like text this number it texts the word quote to this number, and they can come in for like a termite quote or a cleaning quote or any kind of lawn care quote. They can come in through a scan code. So if you're doing like newspaper advertising, how do we get them to come off the paper into your conversation with you? The scan code right there. Like we all know how to use a scan code, right? That's what one thing COVID did. Before, it was 9 months ago, people are like, scan codes, now everyone knows. So it's another way they can come in. A really valuable, another entry point is a URL. So you can put this URL in your email signature. You can put the URL on your YouTube channel. You can put the URL on LinkedIn. So really there isn't a channel that you're using that we can't directly link people right back into your conversation.
I love it. So it's just, and that was one of the biggest questions that I think that came out of the conversation that I had at SA Thrive was like, hey, Mike, well, I may have a lot of website traffic, or I may have a lot of Facebook traffic. And my market's different. It's probably not going to work in my market because more people come from here or there. But if I'm understanding you correctly, Jen, your market doesn't matter. People are people, and a messenger bot or a bot, depending on its functionality, is going to be able to go through each different type of channel. And once they come in through those different entry points, now the conversation is kind of standardized. I like to use the analogy of like a choose your own adventure as you're a kid, but it's kind of picking your own adventure. So if you're coming in the lawn care industry, you can go in and the bot can have a natural conversation. If you and I, Jen, were talking over the phone for a lawn mowing estimate, and the bot's going to ask some qualifying questions. So we can go in and say, hey, what's your address? What's the zip code? Well, the bot can go in and say, okay, here's all the zip codes in your service area. Okay, you qualify. Let's have the rest of the conversation based on you being in my service area. Or it can say, oh, hey, Jen, unfortunately, it looks like you're not in my service area, but would you be interested in staying in our list? So when we expand to your area, we can contact you. But those are the things. It's like conversational marketing, in my opinion, in my business, has been most beneficial. Is it's not looking to replace people on your team. What it really is trying to do is buy back time, avoiding those repetitive and tedious tasks. As business owners, at least myself, I hate babysitting those for my team doing them. Now the bot does them, and now we're getting the most qualified and hottest leads to your sales team. So another great example is maybe near the holiday season, if you own a cleaning company and somebody's looking for a one-time clean and they're having a party tomorrow and they need that cleaning done today or tomorrow morning. Well, if you don't have that schedule capability, the bot potentially could weed them out, or at least ask some qualifying questions before it got to your office person who jumped in as a live person saying, hey, we'd love to help you, but unfortunately, we're booked out for a week and a half. So we're just eliminating the unneeded steps, and we're qualifying those people. So I love the fact that you mentioned all the different areas they can come in. And now we're having a personalized conversation, like a choose your own adventure, based on the different input. And we're just we're chatting back and forth, having a natural conversation. So let's be serious. What's based at the heart of a sales process is a conversation, going right back to the days of bartering. And that's what this bot would be doing if you implement conversational marketing in the fold for 2021. And I'm going to recommend that you need to, because with COVID, and a lot of states are starting to lock down for the first time, believe it or not. That's something that a lot of our clients of SimpleGrowth have already experienced. And they realize that people are starting to not want them in their home for an estimate or in their yard for an estimate. So let's have that conversation in real time when they're ready to buy. Now, Jen, I know you've worked with probably well over 100 SimpleGrowth clients with bots. And if people are kind of looking at this all sounds great. But what if I don't want a person, or I don't have the ability for a person to hop in? So maybe from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m., no one's there to answer it. Can the bot still at least do the core functionality and some more in the off hours? Or if you're maybe a solo entrepreneur out there mowing and fertilizing, you don't have the ability to interact with the bot during the day every minute. What's that look like on the back end?
And that's really one of the things. And when people come in, we want you to talk to them the channel they're in, but we also want to find out what other channels are the opportunity to talk to them. So we also capture their email and their phone number. So let's say somebody came into your website over the weekend and they got all the way through a quote, and it says, great, we'll have somebody get a hold of you. So we're letting, if somebody comes in at 1 a.m, they probably understand that you're not in the office right now. But what happens is that you'll get notified that there's somebody who has an estimate, that they could want the next step. And what you can do, like, let's say it's Monday. We really recommend best practice is that one of your first things on Monday is that you go into your SimpleGrowth chat and you look at who came in and what quotes. And let's say I came in through the website. So then you can either message me through Messenger, or if I came in through the website and I said I was a guest, you have their email and their phone number, and you can send off a quote. We find like some of our most successful bots are people who on Monday, their first thing is they come in, this person came through, we had their address, their zip, their email, their phone, they send off a quote, and the people just accept it. And so it's kind of like what you're talking about, Mike, that people don't necessarily want the one on, in person with COVID and that. So this, if you think about that transaction, somebody went on a Friday or Saturday, they went on the website, they got a quote, and they did it as a guest. One of the great things about our web chat is that you can do it in Messenger or just as a guest. And so the person did it as a guest. We got all the relevant information. The client came in. They sent out their email. Here's your quote. She didn't even say, would you like more information? She's like, here's your quote. They took it. They're a client. Like, think about how simple that was. And so it's really important that when you're using your Messenger, that when you can, so if you're in office hours, that you are engaging right away or as soon as possible. But if you are that solar entrepreneur or it's on the weekend, we capture all those tools you need to convert at the, in your office hours or at the appropriate time.
And I love the fact that you mentioned, so we're constantly capturing. You can come in as a known individual or a guest. So it takes some of the risk out of that as well, and when they're comfortable. So if you're building your own bots, I know this is the way we've built it for our clients, is we're going in and systematically, when it's the appropriate time in the conversation, we're asking for their first name, last name. If we already don't have it from Messenger, we're asking for their address. We're asking for their phone number. We're asking for their email, because once again, we want to take that omni-channel approach. So what we're going to do is when we grab those contacts, we're going to sync them automatically with Service Autopilot. So if you come in Monday morning, we're going to have a sync that automatically enters them into Service Autopilot with a lead. And potentially, if you're tying into automations, we could be having a ticket, which used to be a to-do in Service Autopilot, assigned to a role, a CSR, a customer service rep, or a salesperson, or a particular person. So we create that accountability Monday. You go into your tickets, used to be to-dos, and you work that list. So now that data entry and all the manual tasks of getting them in with duplicate checking is avoided. We've got them in the SA, and we're going to work that lead or now that client that potentially is signed up. So that right there is a huge, huge benefit. But something I really didn't talk about at SA Thrive is there's really 3 or 4 types of traffic. And we're seeing this a lot as we grew my business at Callahan's Lawn Care. And even now at SimpleGrowth, the main couple types of traffic are going to be the traffic that you buy. So you go out and acquire a list, which is going to be pretty tough in a service business. But if you did buy a list, it's probably got some really bad emails and some bad data, and you're going to get some spam complaints. So I'm going to warn probably against that. There's traffic that you borrow, and that's going to be basically your YouTube or your Facebook or Instagram. You are at the will of those social platforms. So yes, they may be on your list, but you are technically borrowing the access to those people. Just like I want to say what's up to Krista Mutenberg, who says, sign me up. But yeah, Krista is on my list. And but if I get the perpetual slap from Facebook, I no longer have Krista on my list to be able to retarget and market through custom audiences and pixels. So the algorithm changes and shifts between Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Those are borrowed lists. They may feel like you own them, but you don't. You're borrowing them from the social media platform. So you've got bought lists, you've got borrowed traffic. But Jen, the one thing we didn't talk about is the traffic you own. And that is where the value is. So if you're setting up the bot yourself or using one of the bots that we build out at SimpleGrowth as a certified advisor, we are taking the information from Messenger that came from your website, all over the place, QR codes, Instagram, Facebook, Google, wherever that is, and we're taking the traffic that you are borrowing and we're converting it through a sync with duplicate checking in SA, And now we're building a list that you own. And I will tell you, when you go to grow and scale a business and eventually exit and sell a business, one of the valuations of your business is the traffic that you own or the people you own. That is an asset that you've built. I'm not going to get into the actual equations of how much dollar per contact you should have a good on ROI. That's probably another good Facebook video that we can dive into. But the whole thing that I'm talking about here is we want to alleviate the double entry. We want to do duplicate checking, and we want to take that traffic that you're either buying, which I'm not going to suggest doing in a service business, but the traffic that you're borrowing, we want to convert that into your system so you own it. Because what happens come January, February, right before the sales season and lawn care season, an algorithm changes in Facebook or YouTube or Google. And we saw that a little bit already because in Google, they had the top 3 preferred service providers. And when you click on that, it's next to impossible, basically impossible to get to your company's website. So that algorithm shift and that buying habit shift that Google forced minimized the ability for your SEO to rank higher than those. So Google basically said, we want to control this again. So you have to pay to play and be Google certified as a service business. So that certainly basically the traffic that you were borrowing from Google really hurt a lot of service business. So my advice is get ahead of that next algorithm change, create a bot with a sync with Service Autopilot, and own your own traffic. And that's a valuable ad set you're building. So going on to this, Jen, now that we've got them into our system, how do we have this conversation? Is there certain tips or tricks that you've seen with working with probably well over, hundreds of people at this point? What is the best way to have this conversation inside a bot, whether it's Messenger or a standalone bot on your website?
So the best way so the nice thing about when you're using the Messenger and the chats that we have is that you can talk to people where they are. It's that omni-channel conversation. So it's not even, it's not omni-channel marketing. It moves to omni-channel conversation. So let's say I got a flyer and I came in and I'm texting and I'm like, you're getting your quote right in texting. So you don't want to go to email and then have that conversation, right? You want to have a conversation where they are. So a lot of teams and businesses work out of their email because it's a trail and a record. But if you get a notification in your email that somebody is texting you, let's not respond with an email, right? Let's go under the live chat and communicate back with a text. Or if they came off your website and they're as a guest. If somebody comes in as a guest, they're a live contact for you for 24 hours. That means you can have a conversation right there, which makes sense because, I don't feel like me where I have like 5 million tabs open. So you could probably come back and contact me. A lot of people, if you close out your tab, then you have to switch over. So it's knowing you have to switch over to email then because that tab is closed. So to have success with your conversations, the first priority is to do it where they came in. If they came in through Messenger, have it there. If they linked in from an email click, let's say, because we can give you can have platforms that are on your Messenger that has a tab at the bottom link to get a quote. That means they're coming in from email. We'll respond from email. So first is respond the way they did. Secondly, if that window is closed for like Messenger, then maybe do both because you're going to have their email and you're going to have their phone. So then try the other platforms. So like I said, it's not just omni-channel marketing. Once you have that, it moves to omni-channel conversations.
Love it. So as we're looking at this in keys to success, I'm going to see if I can actually pull my screen up here in a minute just to kind of show people what this looks like. So if you're kind of thinking about what this actually looks like here, unprepared as usual, we are going to dive right into it and see what happens. But I'm going to pull this out here, Jen, and maybe you could break down some of the things that we're looking at here in a minute. I'm going to show this. Mm-hmm. So if you're on the podcast, you definitely want to make sure you come back to the Facebook Live and watch this. But we've got here on the SimpleGrowth website, I just pulled this up because I know we have a bot on there and it will be pretty easy to show. But basically we've got here is in the bottom right-hand corner, this pops up. And what I'm going to recommend on a service business is we want to have not only our form, so from Service Autopilot, where people go in and select an estimate request. And you may have heard this analogy, but I think it's worth spending 30 seconds is if you're driving somebody to a static estimate request form, that's not enough. We need the bot there. Some people don't necessarily trust the bot yet, but that shift has been expedited. So most people are going to work with that bot. We'll have the form, but the form, really what you're saying to people is we'll get back to you when It's convenient for us as a business. So imagine in the holiday season, you're going to Best Buy and you're buying one of those big flat screen TVs, and you go up to the register to buy it cash in hand, but you find a clipboard and it says literally fill out your name, phone number, address, zip code, and check what box of TV you want. We'll get back to you when it's convenient for us. You're going to hop on your phone, hop on your Amazon Prime, and have that bad boy delivered in probably 2 days. That's what's happening in most service businesses, because people are going to your website, your competitor's website. If they're not getting real-time buying interaction like your Amazon, your Netflix, Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, let me go on and on and on. That's the way people are buying, and your consumers right now are demanding that experience. So it's not going to be any different with a service business. So what I'm going to recommend is you have that form, because some people are still going to want to interact with that. Don't be the 58% of companies that don't ever respond to a form filled out on the website. I know people watching the SA Weekly Talk Show are better than that. And if you fall victim to that, make sure you set some automations for a ticket with accountability at 24 hours. But what we're looking at here, Jen, is we've got this bot that's popped up. We've got continue as the registered Facebook user or a guest. So we can kind of have that anonymity if we want. So I'm going to continue as a guest.
Because, that's one of the big changes in the industry over the last year is people use, maybe a year ago they could say, well, my clients don't use Facebook, because really the industry was very centric on Facebook Messenger. But it's really moved beyond that in the last year. And it doesn't matter if they're not, because like we said, you can text and you can come in here as a guest. And so it doesn't matter anymore. And I think that's just a huge shift in our industry, that we're really open to everyone, because pretty much everyone is texting or, going to a website.
And I want to talk about texting, and I want to talk is texting a little bit later as well there. So that's huge. And if, so it's SimpleGrowth here. We've got on the far left-hand side, we've got a chat button that is for SimpleGrowth clients between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. We've got live SimpleGrowth team members manning that for help. So a lot of people think they have to put this second box or have this thing in here. So in a service business, you're not going to need this. This is something we did just for automations and bot help and support. But people might say, well, what if I want to have a live conversation with a person as a real person? Good news is a bot like I'm showing you right here on the right-hand side of the screen does not only have automated, but it has the ability for me or my office to jump in as a live person. So it's kind of two bots in one. So when you're going out to build your own or you're looking at bot solutions, those are things that you probably want to look at. So you don't have to pay for two solutions. Now, the only reason SimpleGrowth has is that ties into our help desk, Zendesk, so we can make sure any upgrades or questions are tracked by our development and support team. But for a service business, just like we did at Callahan's Lawn Care, we had the one tool here. And this was great because it was a multi-purpose tool. So Jen, you basically said he came in, and now I can talk to the team. I can try some demos, free tools. So we'll go into and try the demos. And this is kind of gives you the idea of what you could see in a service business going in there. And it's going to basically prompt you. And this may take a hot minute because my internet is slow with all the kiddos on here. But basically, once this loads in, we've got the examples of scrolling through and saying, hey, are you a lawn care company? Are you home cleaning? Are you snow removal? Are you pet waste removal? So these are all the different demos that you could do. But let's just say for conversation's sake, you are a lawn care company. So the person would just say, hey, request a quote for lawn mowing. And we've got Bill Murray here that kind of pops up comically. And it's like, hey, I'm SimpleGrowth's lawn care estimator. Here's a few things I need. My idea is you want to kind of have some fun with that, Jen. You want to create a conversation, make it engaging. But now we're going in and we're going to go in and I clicked on it twice, so it's duplicating out, but that's all right for Facebook Live. So you type in your address. And what that's going to do is go out and go into a product like Zillow and some other things we tie into. And now it's going to ask for the zip code. So it's actually checking if it's a real address. And then we're going to select the service we're interested in. So whether it's weekly mowing or weekly or biweekly cleaning. And then that would basically calculate a price based on your particular pricing matrix behind the scenes. So it's not a generic pricing. It's based on the pricing in there. Now, very similar, we said at the rate conversation, we're going to be asking for a phone number. Without putting my personal cell phone in here, we're going to throw some fives in here. And what is the best email? and the client puts their email in. So now we're capturing that information and it's leading that data entry, because this is going to be able to sync right into your CRM, such as Service Autopilot. And I must have messed up and not hit return. So we're capturing all that data, and it's very similar, like it would be a natural conversation that Jen and I were having over the phone. Now, obviously, in a normal instance, you'd be selecting what service you wanted an estimate. But in this demo, it's literally giving you the price of $72 for the cutting. It tells you it includes the mowing, blowing, and edging. Demo note is it's based on 1,200 or 12,000 square feet from Zillow. And the next step is basically go in and signing up, and we go in and capture and win that job.
So Mike, stay there because I want to show you one. So now I'm going to be on our app. I'm going to show you how this is really omni-channel conversation. So I'm going to have a conversation now with Mike as a guest. So I don't know who he is. And let's just say, let's say I just said when is a good time to talk or something like that.
I love this, Jen, because usually I'm talking to myself over here. So this is great. This is good.
Yeah. So now you're going to see it's going to pop up in Mike's window there, when is a good time to talk. So again, this is what the beauty of these products is, that you don't have to be at your desk to have this conversation. You just, if you're, let's say you're out and your team is out at lunch or something and this pops up, they can have the conversation. Well, he says, hey, Mike, how are you? And so it really is like an omni-channel conversation. So now again, let's say Mike, often this is a number that I can email him our quote. I could even text him or call him. Like, we have all the information. And so it's just really, how convenient that I can go from my phone and close a sale.
So if anybody's listening to this, not on the live video, so Jen actually picks up her cell phone, is in the app, inside the messenger, and messaged me back and asked a question. So even if you are in the field as a solo entrepreneur, you still could go in at lunchtime and hammer out a couple messages and close sales while you're still on the road. So I love the flexibility of having this live conversation, and you're not just tied to a physical desk. I'm glad you brought that up, Jen. And it's just, this is the way it's going. We've been doing this in my lawn care snow removal business, believe it or not, for 5 or 6 years, Jen. I think when we first met, you were like, holy cow, like, how did you, like, you've been doing this forever. But that's one of the things that I've kind of prided myself on with automations 8 or 9 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, with conversational marketing. What we need to do is go out and out-adapt our competitors. And obviously, within Service Autopilot ecosystem, SA has been the platform that's out-adapting all the other platforms for most features. So that's pretty cool. But then you have these little 3 bars where they can go back and literally go in and recreate their choose your own adventure. But if this was a regular sequence here, once the estimate was accepted, it would email and text message the new client the information and alert someone in your office. So I'll pull this off the screen, but a lot of people are kind of wondering, what does that look like? So this is just a little taste of conversational marketing. So Jen, as we're diving in here, I know we're near the top of the hour, but as far as keys to success, we kind of touched about it. Like, people are like, well, I'm not on Facebook. I don't drive traffic, or I don't have a website. And we've kind of looked at all the different entry points. Mm-hmm. So what is best practice? What are we seeing for success? So a gentleman that has allowed us to talk about his success was Garrett Matthews and Matthews Tree and Lawn. And if you saw my SA Thrive talk, Garrett had approximately about $200,000 in sales in about 2 months, if I remember the numbers. If you saw my SA Thrive talk, the exact numbers are in there. But what we calculated out based on Garrett's lifetime value, that he produced a little over $1.4 million. That's it, $1.4 million in lifetime value sales in 2 months off a $3,000 ad spend directed to Messenger. So I don't know about you, Jen, but if I'm a service business and I know I can put $3,000 into Messenger through a bot and net a return on investment over the client lifetime value of $1.4 million, I'm just going to keep pumping $3,000 in there every month.
Absolutely.
I can. So obviously, Garrett,
I remember we were on with Garrett, and when he saw the results, he's like, wait a minute. Right then and there, he went and raised up his ad spend. He's like, these results are insane. And it kind of gets back to like, for like ads into Messenger, where you have such a mixed success, it's that lead form. And like, it was interesting when you said people fill out a lead form and 58% of the time they don't get responded. Like, I don't ever want to fill those out because we all know you have that feeling like nobody will get back to me. But so one of the keys to success is if you're running ads in Facebook, run them directly into Messenger where the quote starts automatically. And it's a special way of doing it at the end. You know, you're running into Messenger and picking your keywords, but that's one of the keys to success. Another thing that is a key to success is video, which I know Marcus shared and talked about, but we see like people like, Garrett using video almost every day. And if you think about it, the reason I really feel that video converts is because if you're coming into my home, I want to get a quote when I want to get it, but I also want to know who am I requesting that quote from. So if you're doing video and I know who you are, or I want to know that the guy that's coming to, do my lawn, that it's a reputable business. So if you're doing video, what you're doing is you're building that know, like, and trust. And so when the time comes to get a quote and I go to your website and I give my information, it's not just some random person. It's Garrett doing the videos or it's Lynn doing the videos for cleaning. And so I think it really amplifies your conversion. I mean, even when people come in, they're more likely to say next step if you're doing video, because you're talking about your business. You're just talking about your team and videos. You're talking about life in general. So they relate to you. So I think doing videos is a huge key to success. And I was telling Mike, like a couple of people who started using videos on our, chatbot group, like women in their 60s with gray hair. So no excuses. Like if they can start doing video at 60s, and what happens then is you can also like boost those posts. Another success factor that we have is if you have an active website. And to me, like if you have an active website and you don't have an estimator bot, you're losing so much because people are coming there and they're coming to your site. Why? They're not coming at your site, for no reason. They're coming to get a quote. You need to have that on there. That's a huge recipe for success. And the third thing I think is, so we have paid traffic, we have videos, we have your website, and then is organic traffic. Because if you can do good organic traffic and people comment on that post, they're going right into your messenger again. So I would really see those are really the 4 keys: paid traffic, video, having an active website, and then social posting.
Awesome. And I guess another interesting point, so it just came up on the Service Autopilot member group, believe it or not, today. I think it was Jeremiah that brought it up. He said, I'm looking to incorporate some text messaging or keyword to text messaging. So depending on the platform, so if you're using a bot like SimpleGrowth has, it handles text messaging in and out, but it also has keyword text messaging. So you could text estimate to a certain number and enter them into the bot and then have the automated estimate process and conversation like you did in the bot that you saw on the screen, but through SMS. So as technology continues to evolve, at least us at SimpleGrowth and myself and the team, and definitely Jen, I thought I'd put a lot of content out, but Jen is making me step my content game up for SimpleGrowth. She is a beast with competing here. So we're having a little inner competition. We can get more content out per day.
Hey, let's do that. We should do that.
I'm going to be a sore loser here for you're killing it. So, but basically the idea is, so we not only have all the things that Jen just talked about, but you can actually have somebody text into your bot. So imagine on the side of your truck, text lawn to this number, and they could jump in and have a live automated conversation. And eventually a real person can hop in if it's appropriate. So it's really, we're opening up the ability for your business to have a conversation when people want to have a conversation on the channel they want to have the conversation and when they want to have it. And if it's in the middle of the night, that's great. Jen and I always laugh because when we beta tested bots, my wife thought I was having a freaking affair because the phone was like across the thing. And I'm like, you need to turn the notifications off, Jen. But that was for SimpleGrowth. And believe it or not, between 10 p.m. and about 2 a.m., maybe 3 a.m., we had more traffic in the middle of the night when I was sleeping than we did during the day. So your consumer, after they get the kids down and they settle out or watching TV, that's when they want to have these conversations. And they may not want to have a live conversation. They may be hitting you, in between, episodes there of their latest Netflix gig. But that's where it's going to happen. So if as service businesses, we're not creating that opportunity, we're going to lose that opportunity to our next competitor that's ready to adopt. Now, I don't want to say this is bleeding edge, but for the service industry, this is cutting edge. And this is where it is going.
Too? It's so multi-generational. because it's so omni-channel. Because your parents aren't going to get a quote the same way that your 25-year-old. But so that's really the key. So my parents could definitely text to get a quote. My kids might not do that, but they might go into the website chat or they might go into Messenger. And so it's omni-generational, a new word. But it really is, because you don't want, okay, we're just going to do only text marketing because we're missing out on some generations who might not do that as much. You don't only want to do email. But that's where I think like moving text is almost a uniform platform too, right? Like your parents will text, your kids will text, we'll all text. And so it really is, like you said, it's a bleeding edge. And the nice thing, you probably all have gotten some text marketing already, but it is not conversational. Like you can't respond and they're not going to come back and respond. And that's where the industry now is moving toward, is having that conversation, right? Like if you get a text from like the local, I don't know, retail store, you can't text back and say, hey, do you have any of these in stock? Because that's going to, the empty black hole. But with the chats that we're using, that's really where it's different, is wrap mind around that we can have that conversation right back in text. Like, yeah, I could text you, Mike, tomorrow.
Yeah, no, you definitely
try to text Mike, see if his number works.
You definitely can. And the cool thing is it does sync into Service Autopilot for those contacts and things, and it did work. Very interesting.
So I did it. Think about where we're going. And I could have done that from the computer either, but I went into the live chat from the computer. Like that's not a personal one. That's from SimpleGrowth, texting Mike.
So yeah, awesome.
So that's where SMS has changed.
And that was one of the big questions around that. So right near the top of the hour here, I know we got limited time. One thing I kind of wanted to at least bring up, especially with the new impending COVID lockdowns for some of the states or re-lockdown. I know at least going to the daycare for the kids, it has been an absolute nightmare. I've got 4 or 5 questions that I have to answer just to get the kids dropped off at daycare. And I get it. It's safety concerns. A lot of states are starting to mandate pre-screening questions for health checks for employees coming into work. And then so a lot of businesses, especially cleaning businesses, are trying to proactively mandate their own pre-screening so they can differentiate themselves to their future and current clients. So, Jen, people could probably go build out themselves, but I'm just asking you, what did we just release out of the pipeline at SimpleGrowth that I'm actually pretty excited for in the last week here? COVID screening. What is that all about?
I'm so excited about it too. So, the impetus is a couple things. One, some states require that your employees have COVID testing before they come. On the other hand, and some states don't, but some businesses want to be able to tell their clients, we're taking all the precautions possible. We're kind of doing a daily health check. And so what we built out, this is all in texting for your employees, and we have it built out in Spanish or English, is that people can come in and we ask the 3 main COVID questions. Have you been around somebody? Do you have symptoms? And do you have whatever I can't remember the exact wording. And so, and then every day your employees come in, they take that test, and then tomorrow they get an automatic reminder based on the time that you want and the number of days of the week. So let's say they're working Monday through Saturday. Monday through Saturday, your employees are getting a reminder text saying time to answer these questions. And once they answer all of them negatively, which is, the COVID test, if you don't have them, they get a check saying, thank you for taking the test. And you get a notification that they cleared the test that day. And then, I think that there are the couple key factors as that it's in text, an automatic reminder sent, but also we save all this data to Google or a Google Drive. So you have it to go back to. So if there was ever any questions, you've done your testing, and every day, they've done the test, it shows the exact responses. Also built into it is sometimes if you're like me and you're rushing through something, you might have hit yes when you meant no. So we have it set in like, oh, you said you have COVID. Is that accurate, or do you want to restart? And so we give that to restart in case somebody's rushing through and puts in a wrong answer. So it's really next level. And the key is, because the other thing that's nice is some businesses, they say, okay, well, download our app, like the YMCA. One of my friends, download that YMCA app and ask them the questions. Well, you don't have to download any app. All they have to do is go to this number, text COVID, and start the questionnaire. So it's, again, it's not pushing people to where we want them. We're meeting your employees where they are. Just go ahead and take the test right in your text.
and where they're already comfortable. So obviously not pitching that service, but I wanted to just kind of explore that and announce that, we have developed and built this out for COVID screening. But even if you're not looking to buy a purchase or service like that, these are things I would recommend going into 2021. If you're building your own bots, that we need to be thinking about. How can we differentiate our business? How can we service our internal clients, not our external? So the bots are going to be multi-facing. We've got client interfacing, and then we've got employer team member facing. So a big tip that you may want to take away from here, if you're looking to build your own bots, COVID screening is a big one. It's something we just released, and it's being really widely accepted. We've looked into the legalities of it as far as HIPAA compliance and things like that. And obviously check with your local laws, but basically the way we've developed our bot, we did data storage, it is HIPAA compliant. So things that you may want to do as far as homework on your end if you're building your own bot. So as we're driving down here, Jen, I think that pretty much covers everything we could cover in about 30 minutes due to technical difficulties. Any closing thoughts around conversational marketing, omni-channel marketing, bots, COVID bots, and everything else in between, winning your clients through the new way of having a conversation?
Well, I think it's something like when you just think about all the things we've talked about in the future, it's something that you have to keep your eyes on. Like, this isn't going away, and it's only going to improve the things that you can do with Messenger and omni-channel marketing. And so make sure that when you're putting your learning hat on or your marketing hat on, that you're really aware of all the changes that are going, because like how we talked about how much we've moved just in the last year and what'll happen in the next year. So something you really have to keep on top of. And, I recommend diving in now so that you're, learning as you're going and improving.
Love it. So Jen, can't thank you enough. Key takeaway at the end there is make sure if you're building your own bots or if you're working with a professional, make sure they're on top of the latest things because it's changing daily. So you need to be compliant, especially with your Messenger laws and different rules. And outside of, you don't want the Google or Facebook smack, you don't want the Zuckerberg smack for your Messenger because that's no good either. So really excited. Thanks for all the knowledge and everything you do for the SimpleGrowth bot team, Jen. SA Weekly Talk Show next week coming at you with Gosha Barron from Chicago. Gosha is a national big hitter in the cleaning industry, breaking down some of her shift from residential to commercial disinfecting, how she's adapting and being on the bleeding edge of buying habits with COVID right now. Really, really excited to get Gosha on here and learn from Gosha. And if you're in the lawn care pest control industry, trust me, this is a must watch. If you're in the cleaning industry and been to a QDS conference or RC, you probably already know who Gosha is. But I am excited for next week as well, because that's going to be a power hitting hour on the SA Weekly Talk Show with Gosha. So SA Weekly Talk Show next week, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, right here on Facebook. Jen, thanks again, and we'll see everybody else next week.
Thanks, Mike.
If you like this show, you might want to check out our resources at www.startsimplegrowth.com. While you're there, enter to win an estimator chatbot. Mike Callahan is available for private coaching.